That brown bottle has been sitting in your cabinet for months, maybe longer. You bought it once, used it for one small thing, and forgot about it completely. Most people do. But here is what nobody tells you. That bottle you are walking past every single morning may not even be working anymore. And the reason it stopped has nothing to do with the product itself. It has everything to do with one mistake almost everyone makes with it: hydrogen peroxide. 3%, under $2. And most people have never used it the way their grandmothers did. Think about your medicine cabinet right now. Eardrops, whitening strips, antiseptic spray, produce wash, stain remover, laundry booster, a separate product for each problem, most of them half-used, most of them expensive, most of them sitting there because you bought them once and the habit never stuck. What if I told you that a plain brown bottle, the one you probably already have, has a role in almost every single one of those categories? Not as a dramatic cure for anything, as a quiet, practical, old household tool that modern life simply made us forget. My grandmother did not have a drawer full of branded products. She had a shelf, a bar of soap, a tin of Vaseline, a bottle of witch hazel, and a brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide that she replaced regularly because she actually used it up. That is the part that surprised me when I started paying attention. She was not hoarding it. She was going through it, 10 different ways, and I am going to show you every single one. But before we get to the countdown, there are 3 things you need to know, or none of this will work the way you expect. First, go and get your bottle right now. If it has been sitting open in a warm cabinet for more than a few months, there is a very real chance it has already broken down into plain water. Hydrogen peroxide does not stay stable forever. It breaks down into water and oxygen, which means the bottle you are about to use may be doing absolutely nothing. Not because it is a bad product, because it lost its potency before you ever reached for it again. The test is simple. Pour a small amount onto a dark surface. Watch for gentle bubbling. If it fizzes, even softly, the bottle is still working. If it sits flat like water, it is water. That test alone is worth saving this video for. Second, do not reach for the stronger concentrations. You may have seen 12% or 35% versions online or at the chemist. Stronger is not better here. For every single use I am about to show you, 3% is the right choice. The higher concentrations are a different thing entirely, and they do not belong in any of these household routines. 3% only. Third, do not transfer your hydrogen peroxide into a clear spray bottle and leave it on a bright shelf. Light degrades it quickly. The original brown bottle exists specifically to block the light that breaks it down. Keep it in the dark brown bottle. Keep it somewhere cool and away from heat. That storage detail is what makes everything else possible. Now, 10 uses, starting with the one everyone already knows and ending with the one that will completely change how you think about this bottle. Number 10. Minor cuts and small scrapes. This is the one that put hydrogen peroxide in every medicine cabinet to begin with. Most of us grew up watching someone pour it directly onto a wound. The fizzing felt like proof something was working. And here is what I understand now that I did not then. One careful application is enough. The habit of soaking a cloth and pressing it repeatedly, or pouring it over and over hoping to speed things along, does not help the way you expect it to. One gentle pass, let it do what it does, and move on. The method matters more than the enthusiasm. This use is the most familiar, but almost everyone does it slightly wrong. Number 9. Toothbrush soaking. This one surprises people every single time. A small glass with hydrogen peroxide solution, 3% mixed with an equal amount of water, and the toothbrush standing upright in it overnight. That is the whole routine. The brush sits in the glass the way a pen sits in a cup. It is such a small thing, and it is exactly the kind of small thing that vanishes when nobody passes it on. Older households did this quietly, without making a project of it, and then somehow the habit disappeared along with the generation that kept it. Number 8. Warm foot soak. My favorite cold evening use. A warm basin of water, a capful of hydrogen peroxide added in. Nothing dramatic. Nothing complicated. You sit down, you rest your feet, and that faint bubbling sound, softer than you expect, is genuinely satisfying in a way that is hard to explain until you have heard it. This is where the routine stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like something you actually want to do again. That is the test for whether a household habit will stick. If it feels good to do, you will do it again. This one passes that test easily. Number 7, grout and surface cleaning. This is where the bubbling becomes almost theatrical. Apply hydrogen peroxide directly to grout lines, let it sit for a few minutes, and scrub. The reaction is visible and satisfying in a way that is completely different from how it behaves on skin. Same bottle, entirely different role. This is the one that reminds you why older households kept it at the front of the shelf, because something that works on a scrape, works on a toothbrush, works in a foot basin, and then works on the kitchen tiles too, is not a product. It is a system. And the next 2 uses drive that point home even further. Number 6, laundry stain pre-treatment. A small amount of 3% hydrogen peroxide applied directly to a stain before the wash goes in. That is the whole step. It has been a household shortcut for a very long time, and most people have no idea it is sitting in the cabinet while they are paying for a dedicated stain product. The important thing to know, and please do not skip this, is that this use is for white or light fabrics only. With anything dyed or patterned, leave the hydrogen peroxide alone entirely. The mistake is assuming it works safely on everything. It does not. White fabrics only, applied before the wash, and then let the machine do the rest. Number 5, white laundry booster. Separate from the stain pre-treatment, a small amount added directly to the drum with a load of white fabrics works as a gentle brightening boost, a role that older households gave to hydrogen peroxide long before dedicated whitening products filled the laundry aisle. Again, whites only. The mistake is using too much, or assuming that if it helps whites, it will help everything. It will not. But for a simple load of white linens or towels that have started to look dull, this is the kind of thing my grandmother would have done on a Tuesday without thinking twice about it. No special trip to the shop, no separate product, just the bottle that was already there. Number 4, produce rinse. A small amount of 3% hydrogen peroxide added to a full spray bottle of plain water. Mist your fruits and vegetables before rinsing them with plain water. That is the routine. It has been a common household practice for decades. The spray bottle should have a handwritten label on it so nobody confuses it with anything else. And that label is not a small detail. That label is the habit made visible. It is what turns a one-time experiment into something you actually keep doing. The mistake people make is using the hydrogen peroxide undiluted or at full strength directly on produce. A few drops in a full bottle of water is the right ratio. Light, simple, something you do before you rinse. Number 3, diluted ear rinse. This one I grew up watching and almost never see discussed anymore. A few drops of hydrogen peroxide diluted with water, not used at full strength, allowed to sit briefly in the ear canal, and then drained. It is a traditional softening practice that many people remember from childhood and very few have kept. The mistake is assuming that if a small amount is useful, more will work faster. With anything involving delicate areas, less and diluted is always the right direction. The same rule that applies to the mouth rinse applies here. More is not better. Diluted and brief is exactly right. Number 2, diluted mouth rinse. A capful of 3% hydrogen peroxide mixed with an equal amount of plain water, swished briefly, spat out, not every single day, not as a replacement for how you already care for your teeth, but as a weekly routine that older households used quietly and somehow stopped passing on. When people tell me this rinse felt too harsh or too strong, the very first thing I ask is whether they diluted it. They almost never did. Straight from the bottle is the mistake. Half and half, 1 part hydrogen peroxide, 1 part water, is how older households used it. That dilution changes the entire experience, and it is the same principle that makes number 1 the most overlooked use of all. Number 1, diluted nail soak. Fingertips soaked briefly in a small bowl of diluted hydrogen peroxide. A few minutes, nothing else. This was a beauty routine older women did at home without ever calling it anything special. No product name, no branded treatment, just a small bowl, a little solution, and a few quiet minutes of sitting still. It is the use that surprises people most when they hear it, and the one that feels the most satisfying once they have tried it, because it is so small, so simple, and so completely forgotten. And that is the point of all of this. One standard bottle from any pharmacy used correctly across all 10 of these routines lasts far longer than most people expect. The reason older households went through a bottle quickly is that they were using it for 10 things instead of one. The reason your bottle has been sitting there since last spring is that you have been using it for nothing. There is something satisfying about understanding an ordinary object this completely, not because any of this is dramatic, because it is the opposite of dramatic. It is the kind of thing that used to sit at the front of the shelf instead of the back, get used until it was finished, and get replaced without ceremony. A fresh brown bottle, sealed, stored somewhere cool and dark. A small handwritten label somewhere nearby listing the 3 or 4 uses you will start with. The bottle catching no light because you finally know why that matters. Tell me in the comments what your family kept this for. I have a feeling some of you grew up watching it used in ways I have not even mentioned yet.